Hey, this is Nick the Mining Book Guy. Today is Wednesday, February 21st, early afternoon, and I've got a follow-on video from my Sarama Resources video that I created a week or two ago, SWA, on the TSXV. Please check that out if you haven't yet. For the reason I'm making all these videos in early 2018, two main things to discuss here. One is on some very interesting news related to the Teranga Gold area. And two is based on some private feedback I got. Unfortunately, I didn't get much public feedback on the previous video, but I got some good private feedback. And there was interest in me discussing more the whole ordeal with Acacia Mining and some things revolving around that. So if anything, first part of the video is very easy to understand and happy. Second part, a little more complicated, but I do have kind of an interesting positive spin for you on that. But getting right into what's really interesting is that I'd say the main highlight was not from the recent news release for Sarama, but it was from this public email. So if you were on the Sarama Resources email list, you would receive this. But I did share it at CEO.ca because I thought it was definitely worth highlighting. Just this last quote: Teranga have also been supportive of Sarama's work and participated in our last capital raise and have indicated they will support us on future ones as well. So this is huge because it's the first public indication that Teranga let alone their interest in the area from what we can see with maps and their properties, they're actually buying up shares through placements in Sarama. And this was not clearly is not a huge amount. Otherwise, it would have met a threshold that required reporting through SETI, through the regulatory bodies. So my take is that it's at least a few percent, and maybe could be leading to 5 or 10%. But this is great to hear. It's interesting parallel to the strategic investment by Semifo into Savory, which was a main highlight of the previous video I made. So if anything, it reinforces what I've already been talking about, and we know that both Semifo and Teranga are huge players here, and Teranga is taking a direct interest in Sarama. But going into the actual news release, I should scroll up really quick just to see the highlight. So Sarama Resources identifies 3+ kilometer system proximal to Bondi. So they didn't actually say in the headline that this is the Bamako property. I don't want to create more confusion by going into a lot of details, but this property has had some good drilling in the past, and it's come back into play because of the proximity to both Bondi and Golden Hill. This is actually a pretty informative map from the news release. We know that Bondi could be a very interesting satellite deposit to Golden Hill for Teranga. Could also be a satellite deposit to the Sarama Acacia JV, the South Houndé project, so basically right in between those two. There's also a possibility that Bondi could grow and become the center of gravity here. I want to emphasize that while Bamako is very unlikely to ever become the center of gravity of anything, it could be an important satellite deposit to any of those areas. It's still close enough. And of the other properties here, these are all 4 or 100% owned. Bamako is the most likely to have drilling in the near term following Bondi, and perhaps immediately adding some important satellite ounces. So it's exciting that that's happening, and I like it that there is a whole news release that just focuses in on that. So we're gonna hope that Sarama has a nice capital raise. It could be announced any day, and I'm surely we'll talk about that in a future video. That much of that money could be put into both Bamako and Bondi in the near term to improve the potential of the deposits in both areas, and could be directly related to Golden Hill, but also could be related to Sarama Acacia, and that's what we're going to get into now. Oh, well, before I do, just another image, and I do like these images, just showing Teranga here. You've got the 100% owned 3B here, Bamako right here, Bondi here, and then Acacia Sarama JV down there. Now we'll get into that. So unfortunately, I have to get into stuff that is just, I would say, a combination of disappointment and bad luck. My video a year ago, which was well received, and whether it was coincidence or not, the stock price went from like 15 or 16 cents to almost 30 cents Canadian within a few weeks of me making the video. Well, it's very unfortunate that that was the high for all of 2017, and it was kind of downhill, not so much based on the results that Sarama was getting, but because of the downward spiral of Acacia specific to Tanzania. So if you wanted to see why it was positive last year, check out this video roughly 15 minutes in, and this was an important article I mentioned. This Endeavor Acacia thing, it wasn't a sure thing by any means, but it seemed like it could have really happened. Well, that got, disappeared in March when there was an export ban on concentrate in Tanzania. And I don't want to go into all of that, but if you do a search for Acacia Mining or Tanzania on Google, you'll find all sorts of stuff. And so that was hugely disappointing. But, what is going to happen with Acacia now? So I can tell you, regardless of the reality of, what's been accomplished, the perception has been hugely negative. And while Sarama's had some issues of their own, getting other types of issues, I think it's really been a big part of Sarama's share price suffering throughout 2017. But the original deal was a huge positive when it happened. November 2014, lots of details. All I want to emphasize right now is that they are in year 4 of this. 2018 is year 4, and Acacia is expected to spend $3.5 million USD to go from 50% to 70% ownership in this South Houndé project. Now, I'm trying to, figure out, are they serious about this? Peter Galetta, who is the new CEO of Acacia, had a, preliminary results, had a conference call. I listened to all this stuff. There was barely any mention, though he did say that they are expecting to move forward with the 3.5 million USD spend in 2018. Now, I looked also into the PowerPoints, and if there's one, I'd say, thing to focus on, because a lot of stuff I'm describing, I think, is kind of confusing. It is a confusing area. What you want to know is that Acacia was taking this area very seriously, and are they still taking it seriously, or what's going to happen with all of their properties here? So all the links to these PowerPoints are below this video, but I just want to go back and forth between some of these. This is where Acacia is right now with this PowerPoint. So this was a recent PowerPoint, 43 pages. There were two pages in the appendix on the exploration projects. Now, it makes sense in a lot of ways that Acacia should be focusing almost all their time on Tanzania and trying to figure out, what are they going to do there. But there was very little on, what's going on with Burkina Faso and exploration compared to previous PowerPoints. And even though this previous PowerPoint was an exploration-focused PowerPoint, there's far more details about what's going on. Even looking at just the images, it gives the impression that they're very serious about consolidating the belt. I mentioned this in that video a year ago, but I really liked this particular image because Bondi, 100% owned by Sarama, Savory Gold and Sarama, well, they didn't say Sarama here, but Savory and Sarama own have the JV on the Carancasso. There's this big gap here, and it's obvious that if Acacia was serious about this area, they were going to need to buy out Sarama and probably Savory to consolidate all this stuff. And this was also a good image, a different way of looking at it. This is all where Sarama has at least some exposure, this big purple area, and these outlined areas with colors were Acacia, and really all of the more advanced stuff and most interesting stuff is in this area. Acacia actually didn't have too much success in the southern area. Oh, and by the way, Teranga's right here and Endeavor's right here. So this was a really neat image. Both Sarama and Acacia were showing all of this stuff about all this big time consolidation, but really, it's, in my opinion, Acacia is half-heartedly talking about this stuff right now, and I really don't think anything is finalized. Another big part of that is this article. This was, article news release. It's been posted in a few areas. The really most important thing is this quote at the end, which I'll read. We continue to take steps to protect the balance sheet, including a reduction in planned greenfield exploration spend in 2018, and we are targeting reducing spend during the year. So you can tell, like, they're not going to be talking much about this, and maybe they don't even really want to spend it. I wonder, is 3.5 million USD? You could say that's pretty material, even for, like, do these guys even want to spend that to earn into this? Because they've got so many other headaches and they're bleeding cash in Tanzania. Maybe there's still a chance they will change their minds on this spend. So that's one thing to emphasize, but perhaps even more importantly was this news just a few days ago. Exclusive: Acacia China miners in talks over Tanzania gold deal. Now these names weren't in the official Acacia release, but clearly someone's talking about Shandong Mining, Zijin Mining are interested specifically in the gold mines in Tanzania. So I'm just gonna throw something out there, which maybe some people haven't thought of. These could get there could be a deal, maybe not a buyout, but maybe these miners are very specifically interested in the Tanzania gold assets, and that deal, it may take a while to go through, because this is clearly very early stage talk. So maybe mid or late year 2018. But regardless of what Acacia says they want to do right now with their other exploration assets, like what they're doing with Sarama in Burkina Faso, that could completely change with this new ownership or deal with these Chinese miners. Or maybe those assets could get spun out and something completely different happens, in that way. Basically, whether there's different scenarios, but that, the whole area, all this complicated stuff involving Acacia could completely change soon. And there are definitely signals that they're not taking it too seriously right now. So I'm hoping that most of this made sense, but I understand, it's very possible that something out of left field happens here. I just want you to be aware that nothing is set in stone. And if anything, one other thing to get out of this video, I want to emphasize that perception-wise, I don't think it could be worse for this red area. Even for Sarama in general, the Acacia thing really pins it down. Really kind of like overshadows a lot of the other positives. But the South Houndé project, again, the red thing right here, 2.1 million ounce inferred resource, 500,000 oxides. One way or another, this is going to be a key part for Sarama. For somebody to want this. If not, if Acacia's not moving forward, it could be Semifo, which has a property here. I'll probably get into that in the following video. But to tie this back into earlier, all these blue things are 100% owned by Sarama. And that's the crazy thing, is if you took out this whole red area, you could say that the market cap is justified just by this stuff and this stuff. There are so many ways to say that Sarama is undervalued. I just want to say, if nothing happens with the Acacia properties and they basically continue this spend, it will be annoying, but I don't think it's going to take any value away. But if Acacia pulls out, or if something less bad happens, it can only be a positive for Sarama. If you want to discuss that further, please comment in the YouTube notes below. Or, even better, you can talk to me in the Sarama room at CEO.ca. There have been a few good questions here. I enjoy discussing this stuff, and again, overall things are very positive. The stuff going on with Teranga is positive. What's going on with Acacia is very mixed and uncertain, but I don't think it will get worse. I think it can only turn into a positive. And yeah, if they pull out, the huge game changer. We'll see, if Semifo or Teranga or someone else steps up to the plate. All right, I think that's good for now. This is Nick, the Mining Book Guy. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.